Hello everybody, and thanks for coming back. Good to see you again. About 1 million years ago when I was in college, a man came to my house. He was retired from federal government service. He wasn't in the Treasury Department or the IRS, but he sat down and taught me a great deal about ministers and religious workers, income tax and Social Security tax. Now, nothing that he had to say that day was good news to me. But he saved me from making some terrific financial and moral mistakes. I could have created an entire catastrophe for myself, but he helped me to avoid all of that. And I want to help you avoid the same kinds of mistakes that I could have made if I hadn't had some sort of good advice. As ministers, the IRS considers us dual status employees. That means, first of all, we are considered employees of the local congregation, but we're also considered self-employed for tax purposes. Now, what that means in practice is that you will get a W-2 form from the congregation at the end of the year explaining how much you've received from them in financial support. But also, they take no taxes out, and that means it's your responsibility to pay your taxes each quarter. I'll do another video later to talk some more about that. It's very important. But first, I want to talk to you about one component of our taxes, and that's what's called SE tax, self-employment tax, or tax for Social Security and Medicare. That amount, paying for your Social Security and Medicare taxes, amounts to 15.3% of everything that you get. And it's important to understand that it covers everything, every dime of support you get from the local church, the fair market rental value of any parsonage that might be supplied to you, and also any honorariums that you get for doing weddings, funerals, outside speaking engagements, or whatever. All of those things will be taxed at 15.3% for your Social Security and Medicare tax, in addition to your federal income tax that's due and any state income tax that might be due also. Now, since 15.3% is a lot of money, it works out to quite a substantial sum. There are some people who have opted for an exemption from Social Security tax. Some people will try to avoid paying that 15.3% tax by asking for an exemption. I've known preachers who did that, and I'm not condemning them for doing that, but I'm going to tell you the truth about this and why you can not truthfully ask for that exemption. It's not permitted to us, and I'm going to explain that to you. There are a few things you have to know about the whole SE tax situation. First, everything you need to know about filing SE tax is contained in Publication 517 that you can obtain from the IRS. Just go on the web to irs.gov. In the upper right, there's a search block. Just search for Publication 517, and you will immediately be given a guide for filing SE tax for ministers. Download it and read it carefully. Read it carefully. It's not that long. It's 18 pages. The last page is an index. The first page is a title page. There's powerful information in there that you need to know. As I make this video, the latest revision of Publication 517 is dated February 20th, 2026. It is the latest information and most up to date as I am recording this video. So the first thing you need to know is it's all in Publication 517. Second thing you need to know is this. In 517, there is an explanation about requesting an exemption from SE tax, that 15.3% that pays your Social Security and Medicare tax. You want to read all the instructions very, very carefully, because in order to file Form 4361, which would be the request for exemption, in order to file that, there is a multi-point test, and they very clearly state that you must meet every one of those points. I'm not going to go over all of them right now, but I'm going to recap 3 of them that I think are very, very important, and you need to listen to this carefully. The first point The first key point in this is your objection to paying SE tax must be based on your conscience objections to paying into or receiving benefits from social insurance. Okay, so that means it's not your general conscience. You have to have a theological basis for objecting to paying into or receiving benefits from social insurance. The second key point is your request for the exemption must not be based on financial reasons. And they're very clear that if you are attempting to elect this exemption for financial reasons, you have not made a valid election. We're going to come back and talk about the financial reasons just in a minute. And third, your elders or governing authority, if you don't have elders, a men's business meeting, someone has to agree that theologically this is insupportable for you to pay into or receive benefits from social insurance. There are other parts to the test, but those ought to be enough to show you that we don't qualify for this exemption. In churches of Christ, as ministers of the gospel, we do not qualify for that exemption. In addition to all of that, you must understand that if you were to ask for the exemption and if the government granted it to you, that exemption would be permanent and irrevocable. You cannot change your mind later on and decide, the congregation should support Medicare and Social Security taxes and my wages should be taxed that way. No, once you get the exemption, it's always in place and cannot be undone. Further, if you were to ask for and receive the exemption, you would not only lose Social Security benefits when you turn 65, you would also lose any death or disability benefits that might be payable to your survivors. If you were to die young, your wife and children would be left without any recourse there from Social Security, and you would have opted out of Medicare coverage after age 65. That may not seem like a big deal to you right now, but I want you to just imagine for a moment what health insurance premiums might look like after you turn age 65. It's almost impossible for you to gauge how many thousands of dollars per month you'd have to pay for health insurance after age 65. So it seems obvious that in order to file Form 4361 to ask for this exemption from SE tax, you have to lie to your elders, you have to lie to the government, you have to lie to yourself and to your family. It probably isn't a good idea to start your ministry on a foundation of lies. Now, one objection that I have heard about Social Security and filing this exemption, one objection that I've heard is, well, I can invest my money better than the government can for my retirement. I can provide a retirement far beyond what Social Security would pay me in my declining years. And I wouldn't argue about that, but I will tell you that no matter what you intend to invest, you won't do it. No, you just won't do it. Here's why. You'll mean to. You'll have the best of intentions to invest every month and amass an incredible amount of money that would take care of you and pay all your bills and your health expenses far into retirement. You intend to do that, but you won't do it. Especially in the earliest years of ministry, money is always incredibly tight, very, very hard to come by. And it seems like every time you think, I have a little extra this time, I've got some money to sock away for my retirement, there will be some unexpected bill, a car repair, a sick child, a Christmas, a birthday, a vacation, a car that has to be replaced. There will be some demand on your money that will cause that extra savings to evaporate. And when that happens, you will say to yourself every time, you'll say, next month or even next year, I'll make it all up and I'll be back in good shape again. And you won't. Because next month and next year, reality will intrude again. and you'll have good intentions. They just won't ever happen. You'll wake up at age 50 or 55 and look around and suddenly realize that you've saved up about a year and a half of living expenses before trying to buy a health insurance policy. And by the time you're 65 years old, you'll realize that you will have to be in full-time ministry no matter what the consequences to the local congregation until they carry you out. This is a disaster for you, it's a disaster for the congregation, and it's a disaster that is entirely avoidable. Just tell the truth and pay your taxes. Otherwise, your ministry will not end well. I knew a preacher who abandoned ministry in his 50s and took a full-time wage-paying job so that he could accumulate enough credits to be able to have Social Security and Medicare at age 65. In general, you need 40 quarters of credits. That's 10 years of gainful employment in order to qualify for Social Security and Medicare. So he walked out of ministry for a minimum of 10 years so that he could amass enough quarters that he could have Medicare coverage after age 65. Let me tell you, nobody wants to be entering an entry-level position at age 50 or 55. Nobody wants to do that. So, to recap, can you file for an exemption from Social Security? No. I doubt that you qualify, and I know for sure you don't want to qualify. It leaves your family vulnerable if you die young. It cuts you out of Medicare, and human nature dictates that you won't, in fact, invest for your future. Instead, the last years of your life will be a draining burden on your family and on the congregation. So, look, just read Romans 13, pay your taxes, and complain about it like the rest of us do. Don't worry about the money. Money will be tight. Don't worry about it. Somehow it all works out okay. God always takes care of us. Never quit ministry over taxes. In fact, don't quit ministry at all. Ministry matters. And as always, folks, like, subscribe, and share if someone can use this video, because ministry matters. God bless you.